Hi everybody, Pat Moody with another edition of Moody on the Move. Today, we take you into a world of better hearing, thanks to professional hearing services in the Edgewater neighborhood of St. Joseph. Today's presentation of Moody on the Move is made possible by our good friends at Corewell Health in Southwest Michigan. Remember, you can watch this edition or any other at any time online at moodyonthemove.com. After more than 30 years of wearing headphones on the air every day, there was pretty likely little hope that my hearing health wasn't going to be, surviving intact, let's say. But like many others, I just said, well, I've got pride and I don't have to worry about any of that. And I waited too long. Today, Julie Duensing is CEO here at Professional Hearing Services. And Julie, I have to tell you, the two major issues at hand are waiting too long and then trying to go cheap.
Yes, Pat, we experience that, hear that, witness that all day long.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I can tell you that, some people still won't pay attention because, they don't want to. They want to think what they think is right, But the numbers don't lie. 90% of the folks who take time to gain help tell stories of great improvement in quality of life. And that's important because you are improving the quality of life.
Absolutely. Your hearing affects your overall health. And so addressing your hearing loss just makes everything in your life improve.
And perhaps more striking, though, about folks who decide, well, I'm going to go the cheap route because what can be the difference, especially for those who want to go the cheaper route. The fact is that nearly 3/4 of those who opted for cheaper, over-the-counter types of devices have said, my next pair is going to be from a trusted professional because this just isn't working.
Exactly. Again, we experience that and hear that from patients all the time. They're not sure what to do, so they saw an ad online or something that prompted them to take some action, but it ended up being not the right option for them, especially when people wait on average 7 years before they have addressed their hearing loss and do something about it. Quite often the devices that are available to them on the counter or over the counter on the shelf are not the device that they need. And so they experience that, they see, okay, it's not quite what I thought, and then they do finally make the decision to come to us and recognize that there's so much more involved than just putting a little device in your ear, right?
And the technology has changed so dramatically. The things that you can do with them, the fact that you can pair them with your phone, the fact that you can, stream things directly to your ears. I can't tell. I'll be sitting reading a book, and I'm just playing music through my, that nobody else can hear because it's streaming through my
Exactly.
my hearing aids. And Carol will ask me something, and I go, hang on a second, I got to put it on hold so I can hear what you're asking.
Exactly.
Because it just makes reading more enjoyable,
Absolutely. And there's so many other health features that are in many of the devices, too. I was just talking with a dear friend of mine who's working on setting up a fall alert within her parents' devices. So that way, if something were to happen, your balance gets off as you have a hearing loss as well that's untreated. And so you can set up your device so that if you do fall and you need assistance, it automatically sends out an alert and, notifies people that, hey, you've fallen and you might need some help.
Yeah.
So,
we always saw on TV, I've fallen and I can't get up or whatever, but many times that required even active participation by the person who fell to activate it. And if it's automatically activated by the simple recognition of the device that, oh my God, something has happened here, and to send an alert.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes all the difference.
The technology.
Can save a lot of time.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, the technology is really remarkable in your years in business here. You're almost 50 years now. I would say, pretty substantive bit of trust going on here at Professional Hearing Services for folks who have come to you. I love, too, though, the fact that you have options for those who are saying, I don't know if I can afford that. But you make it affordable for anybody, regardless of, their income.
Right, for sure. We have plans for everybody's budget, which is really important. obviously we want people to hear the best, so we like to present them with their options for hearing the best, but recognize that it needs to fit everybody's pocketbook as well. So we have options, we have financing options. It is definitely something that is so important. It isn't just, an expense, it's an investment. And that's a real big key for people to recognize and understand.
Absolutely. Key line there. Hearing well is not a cost. It's an investment when you spend for the technology to do it right.
Definitely.
That's fantastic. Well, folks can learn more anytime online at prohear.net.
Yep.
Correct? And you can, stop by. Here's the other thing, for people that have never even been here, first of all, you have a beautiful showcase building, and fresh cookies every day.
Always.
And I mean, it's an awesome experience for anybody. So if you're even thinking that you might need a little bit of help, stop by, right?
Absolutely. We love everyone, if they've not had a test before, just to even start with that baseline test.
Right.
Because you don't know, until you've been in and have that baseline test.
Yeah. And you might be surprised, like I was on my baseline test, my very first one. I came in. We got started, and of course it's one of those, press when you hear a sound, and just register to the recognition of the sound. And we got started, and after a couple of minutes, Jill opened the door up again. She goes, "Is it not working?" I said, she goes, "Why aren't you pushing the button?" I said, "Well, I haven't heard anything yet."
That was a sign, I think you waited
That was
too
a sign
long.
that, I think I'm probably going to need some help here. No question. So
Right.
hopefully it's not that bad for everybody, but
Right.
it was a pretty clear indication that you're going to have something, if you want to be able to hear again.
Exactly.
So it makes all the difference in the world. So again, you can go on to prohear.net. You can stop by in the Edgewater neighborhood of St. Joe, just over the river, and come on down and find out for yourself.
Absolutely. We always offer a free hearing screening, which is important. Again, start with that baseline test. Nothing out of pocket to get you in and have that very first test. So.
All right. Very good. Folks, that's a wrap on this episode of Moody on the Move. Today's episode and every episode is made possible by the great team at Corewell Health South, our presenting sponsor. Our thanks as well to Little Red Fern Productions, who help craft a great story for you every month after month here on Moody on the Move. Remember, you can watch this show again or any other episode anytime online at moodyonthemove.com. And we'll see you next time we take Moody on the Move.